Okay, breaking the generation curse. Okay, so I'm going to be using the term of generation carrying pain or by generation to generation. And perhaps you can just like be able to identify it when things are on you and weighing you down. We've seen like generations curses come through wars such as World War II, World War One. We see what happens with in the Inquisitions. There were 4 to 5 million women that were burned to a stake. You put that with the Holocaust. You put that what happened to the Indians, the 4 or 5 million African American slaves that built the foundation for the prosperity in its beginning stages for this country. The violence inflicted, the rejection of women, reducing them down to no more than bear my kids and be quiet and stay at home and just do the work. But what we see is a movement of women, African Americans, Indians. No man's an island. So we see a movement among the American Caucasian race as well with this great awakening to let's get rid of this pain body, what I would call the embodiment of pain that's been handed down through thought processing of what happened in the past in history and the rejection and all of the things that would make people feel less valuable than another human being. Of course, now we can tie it right to the ego and attach itself right there because it always have to have what? Enemies, and it always have to feel superior. And now the awakening is saying you don't have to feel like that. You can make a choice to be the new you. That is to say, to put forth effort by choice that these thoughts that bring me dissatisfaction, that bring me negative emotions, that bring thoughts to my mind that are not edifying and building you up so that you can be present in the now instead of connected with your past. With gangs, if you suffered violence and you were part of a gang or something like that, now you want to identify when you're rejected, you might want to identify where you're from. And that is a collective ego. So you can get off the plane in certain countries and you can feel the pain bodies in those countries. Countries like Switzerland and different other countries seem to liberate themselves from the traditional mindset that have brought a curse on other individuals so that they're bound up and can't be free to express from their being and being present in the now in the power of who they really are. That is, in the authority of the creation and them being co-creating with Source or God and moving forward and ascending to higher dimensions of thoughts, which where there would have been hatred or unforgiveness, there'd be love and forgiveness and reconciliation. We see a speed up of things that abuse is being exposed big time. Law enforcement is moving on abusive situations. So if you don't feel good about yourself, you will project that to your mate or your partner or whoever you got in your life, your kids, your loved ones, and your friends. And the only way out of that is the thinking of saying, hey man, I'm conscious of the bad part of emotion and thoughts that are connected with my past knowledge, my past experiences. And then you can be conscious that I don't live in the time of the Inquisition, and I don't live in the time of slavery, and I don't live in the time of what happened to the American Indians, and I don't live in the time of the World War One, two, or whatever the thing would make you think on those things and have bad feelings. You can think on those things, but you got to be awakened to that. That was then, but we have expanded. We're coming out of those negatives. And now we're into a positive light. We're into a thing where we're conscious of what was bad. And then when we see that those things coming at us, such as a man disrespecting a woman or vice versa, we can say that's not even who they really are. That's something that's been handed down to them. That's something through a mentality, through a tradition, through experience. And the victim is and the perpetrator are both in the same bag, because what you do to others, you do to yourself. And now in this consciousness of this country in America, people are more conscious of verbal abuse, inflicting of superiority, the operation of the ego, which is being broke down through correct thinking about your neighbor as you have the correct thoughts about yourself, the true self, not the ego, false self, but the real self, which would think on things pure, just, lovely, and good report. And to be free from that, we need as the spirit moves through the world, energizing and giving wisdom to people freely, to free them from all the chains of the past thoughts that were of negative in nature. And if you meet individuals, you can look at them. For example, if you feel disrespected, well, they probably been disrespected and are a victim of disrespect. And that disrespect has become part of who they think they are, but it is a falsehood of who they really are, because they are created in the image of God, who made them not to be like that. Abuser, or even in thinking superior to someone else, or in giving negative energy out, judgmental criticism. And this is why people ran from churches and ran from religion, because of the projection, the judgment. And instead of realizing you're not wrestling against flesh and blood, you're dealing with spiritual principles and laws. You can easily say that's not who that person really is. God did not make them to be an abuser. Selah. God bless you.